What's up, YouTube? This story time is going to be about me working at Hooters, and I apologize if the video quality isn't that great, but my camera died, so I pulled out my iPad and I am recording it on my iPad because, you know, I'm just in a good talkative mood today, and I just feel like really telling this story by all means necessary. Like, I'm gonna get you guys this video. Like, I'm pressed. I'll admit that I'm pressed. So in this video, I'm going to be addressing, like, common myths or, like, beliefs people think, like, you know, of Hooters, like, you know, working at Hooters, like, creepy guys or whatever. I'm going to be talking about my personal experience at Hooters and, like, how I even begun working there in the first place. And then I'm going to talk about why I left or how I left. Okay, so I started working at Hooters the summer between my freshman and sophomore year of college. And I kind of only applied for that job because it was literally, like, handed to me. So I'm going to explain. During the summer between my freshman and sophomore year, I didn't want to go home. I wanted to stay on campus and, like, do the whole, like, I'm an adult thing and not go home during, you know, college breaks. So I worked for my school in the Office of Residence Life because other people, you know, from other schools would stay on our campus during the summer, and my job was to supply them with, like, bed sheets and pillows and stuff like that. But the job didn't pay money. It only gave me a free place to stay. So, of course, I needed to get a job over the summer to, like, you know, survive. So I go to Hooters right before the semester ends for freshman year because one of my friends was having, like, a go back home, like, dinner or whatever with her family and her college friends. So while we're at dinner, the waitress says to all the girls at the table, hey, my manager said we're hiring, and if any of you guys are looking for a job, like, apply because you can start pretty much immediately. So I'm like, okay, like, this is perfect because I already knew I needed to find a job this summer, and I didn't plan ahead. Like, I didn't have, like, a job in mind already. So out of the three of us that stayed in DC for the summer, I was the only one that applied. Like, we were all supposed to apply, and that didn't happen. I was the only one that applied. So I go for the interview, and I'm sorry if I pause or say a lot. I actually watched, this is a quick side note, I actually watched a story time of me with one of my friends, and he's like, yo, you have ADD. Like, it's showing when you pause. Like, your pauses are so long. And y'all, I have not been diagnosed with ADD, but, like, I probably do because sometimes I, like, hear this is gonna sound so funny. Sometimes in my head, like, I be hearing crickets because I'm just like, what was I supposed to be saying again? But anyway, so bear with me if I pause a little too long, okay? But so, back to the story. So, yeah, I apply, and when I go to the job interview or whatever, they tell you to come, like, makeup and hair done, okay? So I show up, like, my makeup and my hair is done, and then they interview me like, you know, a regular job does. Like, they sit you down, they talk to you, whatever. Then at the end, they give you a uniform, and they ask you to go in the bathroom and change. So that's what I did. And then they take pictures of you. So I know this sounds, like, creepy, like, ew, they take pictures of you, that's so pervy. And I didn't feel like it was a pervy experience. Like, it was really professional. Like, he took a headshot of me, and then when he was done with the headshot, he just took a body length shot of me, like, from the front. No shot of me from the back or anything like that. So I didn't feel like it was creepy or, like, for self, like, use or anything like that. He said to me, like, oh, a part of the application process, we have to send in, like, your pictures to corporate, and corporate has to approve your look because they're looking for a very, very particular look. Because during the job interview, they explain, like, you have to wear your hair straight. And if you wear your hair curly, it has to be, like, straightened first and then curled. Not like this. Like, my natural hair is curly. And I wasn't allowed to wear my hair like this to work. Like, they wanted Caucasian looking women, or at least women that had Caucasian attributes about them, like naturally straight hair, or, whatever. So, I agreed, and they also explained, like, you have to wear your makeup done at work, and you have to have your nails done for work, your hair has to be done, and you have to cover your tattoos up with makeup. So I didn't mind doing all of this stuff, because they also explained at the interview, you can write this stuff off on your taxes because it's a part of your uniform. Like, looking nice is a part of your uniform, so, like, you'll get the money back. Like, don't worry about it. So I'm like, okay. So, of course, I get the job right away. They call me, like, a week later, like, hey, like, can you come in for training, blah, blah, blah. So the day I come in for training, the girl training me, she's like, oh, hey, like, what's your name? Where are you from? And I'm like, oh, I'm from New York. She's like, oh, how long have you been in D.C.? And, like, why'd you move here? So I'm like, I've been in D.C. a few months, maybe, 11, 10 months or whatever, however long a school year is in college. And I'm here because I go to Howard. And she's like, oh, do you go to Howard? I'm like, yeah, I go to Howard. Like, I didn't know that was a bad thing. So she's like, yeah, there's a Howard versus DC girl beef here, so you're automatically going to be on the Howard girl clique, just to let you know. So I'm like, okay, dang. And she's like, well, I'm in the DC girl clique, and it just kind of is what it is. Like, I think the rivalry is kind of stupid, but it started before I got here, and you just have to give into it because that's how it is here. So I'm like, okay. So this girl pretty much tells all the other girls, like, yeah, she's from Howard, so, like, she's in the Howard clique. So the Howard clique literally, like, adopts me day one, and they're just, like, giving me the rundown, and they're like, yeah, this rivalry started before we got here. The DC girls always just had a beef with the Howard girls. Some of them have been working here for 3, 4, 5 years, and yeah, they just don't like Howard girls. Like, so we pretty much was told the same thing when you started here, and the beef just never ended. So I'm like, okay, like, Jesus Christ, like, I didn't know this was Bring It On All or Nothing. I thought this was just Hooters, in Chinatown, D.C. I'm just trying to get a little summer check. So I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like, let's, get to work. I don't have time for this. So work was fine. I mean, it wasn't like a beef, like, girls were, like, super mean to each other. It just was, like, cliquish. Like, I knew when I came to work that I could really only talk to the girls from Howard. And I'm a very personable person, so, of course, some of the girls from D.C. would still, like, talk to me a little bit, but they wouldn't befriend me. Like, we wouldn't really have, like, real conversations, just, like, work-related conversations or, like, very surface-level conversations. So, addressing the uniform, because that is a very, like, common question I would always get when I worked there. Like, oh, how are you comfortable wearing that little skimpy uniform, blah, 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 blah. But when I was 19 years old working there, I was a stick. Like, I was this was my body. Like, literally this finger shape was my body. Like, I probably weighed 100 pounds. Like, on a good day, I was 100 pounds. So I didn't have anything. I didn't have butt, boobs, hips, thighs, nothing. So I'm like, I don't have a problem wearing the uniform because I look like a 14-year-old little boy. Like, who's looking at me? It doesn't even matter if I have on a bikini in that place. Like, no one's going to care. So, yeah, that was the uniform thing. I mean, when I first started working there, I would be cold. Because it's, like, shorts, like, really short shorts with tights and a little tank top and, like, sneakers. I'll put a picture on the screen of the uniform in case you don't know what the uniform looks like. So, yeah, my only problem with the uniform was getting over being cold all the time at work. And once I got used to that, it wasn't a big deal. So, another thing I would get all the time is creeps. Like, how could you work there? I'm sure there's pervy guys all over you, blah, blah, blah. And honestly, that was not the case. Like, the crowd at Hooters was the regulars that came in there every day. Like, I mean, every day, either on their lunch break or after work, and some of them would even come on their lunch break and after work, and they would all sit at the bar with each other. Sometimes if it was like a whole bunch of them, they'll sit at a table, but they would just come and they wouldn't even pay the girls no mind for real. They were not worried about us at all. They were worried about getting drunk because they were like stressed out about their home lives or something. I don't know. It was kind of like a cousin that would always come to your house and eat your cereal, and you just be like, dude, you could at least bring your own milk. You know what I'm saying? They were just more like in the way because they were taking up spaces of new customers coming in. So the other crowd would be like dates. A lot of dates would come in, like, and you know, the way I just handled that was, if there was a couple at my table, I wouldn't even address the guy. I would literally only talk to the girl. Like, I don't care if he was ordering his food. I'd be looking down at my notepad. I would not look at him. I don't care if he was, like, asking me a question. I would be looking at her while I answer, like, yeah, those wings are good. You should order them. And dudes would probably be like, what the heck? Like, what's wrong with her? But I'd rather look at the girl and only address the female, because I didn't want her to feel like, oh, this waitress is flirting with you, and like pick a fight with her man, and then he doesn't tip me because she's like, you better not tip her. You think she's cute. That's the only reason you're tipping her. And I was there to work. I was there to make tips. So I didn't want to, you know, start anything that would make me not get tips. So if you work at Hooters, you might want to try that. Or in general, if you're a waitress in general and a couple comes in, like, just look at the lady. Like, completely ignore the man. Like, don't make eye contact, okay? So, I only worked there for a month and a half, and during my time there was only one creepy guy I encountered. Like, one creepy guy. And he would fly into DC from wherever he lived every other weekend for work. So, every other weekend, he would come eat at my table Friday through Sunday, twice a day. Now, so that meant I would see him 6 times in one weekend, every other weekend. And he would only, like, eat at my table. So when I realized that, my manager would put me on shift, like, make sure I was at work those weekends so this guy could tip me, because he would always tip me well. But he was never, like, pervy. Yeah, he was never pervy. He never, like, verbally said to me anything inappropriate. But I could tell that he would look at me inappropriately or think about me inappropriately, because he was very, like, set on only sitting at my table. Like, before they would schedule me for when he would come, they would say, like, oh, yeah, your guy came, but you weren't here, so he left. So, yeah, I'm sure he had some pervy thoughts, but he never said anything inappropriate to me, and my manager was really nice to make sure I was always on the schedule when he would come, because he would tip me like $75 every time he came, and mind you, he would come twice a day for 3 days in a row, and he's just one guy, you know, tipping me $75, and I still had other tables or whatever. So, it really wasn't like that, you know, big of a deal, like what people think, like, oh, Hooters guys are so pervy, but I really didn't have that experience, like maybe somewhere else. But I guess the demographics in DC, like, there's so many other places in DC for pervs to go, like strip clubs and regular clubs, that that pervs are not coming to Hooters to, like, pick up girls when they can go to Stadium, you know, at the strip club. Like, it just doesn't make sense. So, yeah, that was that. Like, I didn't deal with pervs. But I did start to deal with drama over time, because closer to the end of the school year, closer to the end of the summer when the school year was starting up, the Howard girls were, like, quitting or getting fired because they just, like, flat out didn't care because school was starting and they were going to leave. And I had the same mentality. I started being, like, super lazy. And the Hooters would allow you to be on your phone. Like, they would actually encourage you to be on your phone and, like, be fun, like, create a fun environment and, like, take photos and be on Snapchat and stuff. And they also had a rule that if someone wanted to take a picture with you, you had to take a picture with them. Like, you could not say no to a customer that wants to take a picture with you. Which, I didn't mind that. It was whatever. But, and that wasn't often. Like, people wouldn't often be like, oh, can you take a picture? It was mostly like, you know, moms bringing their sons in there trying to embarrass them. Like, oh, take a picture with my son. And he'd be like 10 years old or whatever. So, closer to the end of the summer, a lot of my friends that worked there that went to Howard were like quitting and getting fired. And I really had no one to talk to or whatever. So one day I came to work and there was a rule that you had to cover your tattoos up with makeup. So of course, you know, I had a lot of makeup on my arm, like, you know, the stick, like rubbing it, covering my tattoos up. And sometimes it would get on my shirt. And then if it got on my shirt, I couldn't wear that shirt because it was against the rules to wear dirty uniforms. So one day I'm trying to buy a shirt from work and I'm like, hey, I need a new shirt. And they look in the closet and they're like, oh, we don't have your size. You know, maybe ask somebody if they have a clean shirt. So this is where I hit my boiling point at Hooters because the cattiness was starting to get real and I was starting to get outnumbered. So I'm at this point, there's only 2 other girls that go to Howard. And I'm asking them like, hey, like, do you have a clean shirt I can wear because they don't have my size in there, blah, blah, blah. So they're like, no, I don't. Like, you'll just have to buy a shirt that's too big and just deal with it today. Like, it's not a big deal. And I'm like, yeah, like, I'll just do that. So while I'm in the bathroom getting dressed, I get a text from a girl that used to work at Hooters that was part of the Howard clique. And she's like, hey, such and such is talking crap about you, saying you're going around asking for dirty shirts to wear for work. And I knew it was the truth because how would this girl know? She doesn't even work here anymore. So, of course, you know, she's telling the truth. So I'm like, what the heck? Like, no, I'm not asking people for dirty shirts. I'm asking for a clean shirt. Like, yeah, it could have been worn before, but I'm just asking, like, you know, do you have a clean shirt in your bag? Because a lot of us would bring, like, extra uniforms with us. So, you know, I confront the girl. I'm like, hey, I heard you're telling people I'm asking for dirty shirts. Like, so she's like, yeah, I sure did, blah, 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 because you're dirty, da-da-da-da. And I'm just like, you know, I don't have time to deal with this. Like, I'm over this. So, you know, that's that. But later that same day, I'm in the bathroom, and the girl who was talking crap about me from the DC clique comes in the bathroom. She goes to use it, and there's no tissue in her stall. So she's like, hand me tissue, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, no, you should have thought about that before you talking crap about me. I'm not handing you anything. So I wash my hands, and I go to leave out the bathroom. This girl is, like, in the stall cursing me out. Like, you effing B, you better hand me some tissue. I'm not playing with you, da, 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 da. And I'm like, you talking to me like that? You definitely not getting any tissue now. Like, so I leave out the bathroom. And the rivalry was so real that even our managers knew about it. Like, our managers and the kitchen staff was the only guys that worked in the whole place. Everyone else was women. So I tell one of the managers, I'm like, hey, yeah, I left. I'm just going to call her Courtney. I'm like, I left Courtney in the bathroom with no tissue. She's in the stall. So he's, like, cracking up. And he's like, does she have tables? And I'm like, yeah. And he's like, oh, well, like, I'm not getting into y'all little girly beef. Like, I don't even care. So she was probably stuck in the bathroom for, like, 15 minutes, I guess, before somebody gave her tissue. I don't know. Or maybe she just got up and got her own tissue. Who knows? But when she comes out, she, like, confronts me like, oh, I can't believe you didn't give me tissue, da-da-da, it's because you're dirty, blah, blah, blah. And I just was, like, fed up. I was just like, like, girl, get out of my face. So I think, like, a few days later, I was just so overworking there, and it didn't seem, like, worth it to me. And school started the next day. Yeah, that's what it was. School started the next day. And we were short-staffed at Hooters because all the Howard girls left. So I was supposed to work a double. Now, I was supposed to work the morning shift for another girl, covering for her. And then I was supposed to work the closing shift for myself. And I called my dad, and I'm just like, you know, side note, I don't think my dad knew I worked at Hooters. I told my grandmother that I worked at Hooters, and she said to me, the place with the roller skates? And I don't know if she was thinking about Sonic or if Hooters used to use roller skates back in the day. But either way, I just said yeah. But we didn't use roller skates. So I know she told my dad I was waitressing, but I don't know if she told him like where. So I ended up telling him like, hey, you know, school starts tomorrow. I'm really contemplating on like quitting my job. I'm not happy there or whatever. And he's like, you know, like, well, where do you work? And I'm like, I mean, I'm waitressing and I make like a couple $100 a week, but I'm just really unhappy, blah, blah, blah. And school starts tomorrow, and that's like the biggest thing. So my dad's like, well, F them, quit. Like, it's a job, not a career. And I always carried that with me through my adulthood after he said that to me. Like, I've quit so many jobs left and right. Like, and I mean quit. I don't mean like put a 2 weeks notice in, like leave. I just straight up quit because I'm just like, you guys have been mistreating me. I've had a terrible time working here. I'm over this. I'm out. Like, deuces. I don't owe y'all nothing. Goodbye. So that's pretty much what I did with Hooters. I was supposed to work a double, and I did not show up. So they're calling me like, hey, you were supposed to be here 10 minutes ago. Like, where are you? And I'm just like, I'm not coming. I don't know what you want me to say. And they're like, what do you mean you're not coming? And I'm like, yeah, I won't be there. And they're like, for the first shift, like, we'll see you tonight. And I'm like, no. And they're like, you're just not going to come in at all? And I'm like, no, I'm not. And they're like, are you going to come in tomorrow? And I'm like, no, I'm quitting. Like, I'm not coming. What don't you understand? So the lady is like, one of the Hooters girls got promoted to manager because that's how short staffed we were. So the lady is like, oh my God, I can't believe you would do this. You know we're short staffed, blah, blah, blah. Like, you're really just going to up and quit and we need you, blah, blah. And I'm just like, yes. That's me hanging up the phone. I'm just like, I don't know what you want me to say to you. Like, you're not going to get a different answer. Goodbye. Click. So, yeah, that was me working at Hooters, and that was my experience. So, I only worked there for about a month and a half, and honestly, it really wasn't that bad, and I did make pretty good money for being 19, but, you know, school came first, and I wasn't about to, like, go out of my way to keep working there, especially when there was, like, beef between the girls, and that was just so draining. Like, that was the biggest downfall of Hooters. Like, I had no problem with the uniforms. I had no problem always making sure my hair, nails, and makeup was done. I had no problem covering my tattoos every day. I had no problem having to go to work. I had no problem standing on my feet. It was the girls. It was just so annoying. The girls were so, like, it was just like a kill me now moment. Like, are we really beefing? Oh, like a family feud was really going on in that place. Like, and no one was there when it started. So it's just like, why are we still doing this beef between DC and Howard, and we're not even the originators? I didn't understand it. So, yeah, I just left, and that's what it was. Like, I just was like, boop. And the funny thing is, my uniform still went to use because that next Halloween, everybody in my dorm room was like, they didn't have a costume, was like asking me at the last minute, like, oh, can I get one of your Hooters uniforms to wear for Halloween, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah. I'm like in the hallway, in my dorm room, like, you get a uniform, you get a uniform, everybody gets a Hooters uniform. There was so many, like, sophomores that were dressed up as Hooters girls that year for Halloween. It was so hilarious. But, okay, you guys, that was my story time for working at Hooters. You know, little cute tips I gave you guys. So go ahead and like, comment, and subscribe if you have not. Thank you for watching. Bye.